So I was having this conversation with a single homie of mine. Hasn't had the blessing of finding the right one quite just yet, but we were talking about relationship do's and don'ts, what you should do to find someone, what you shouldn't do, and all that stuff. And I realized it's worth making a video about this stuff because you know what? It's a lot of stuff a lot of people might not know. So welcome to the official relationship advice that you need to hear. And you need to hear this, y'all. Listen, watch this video before you choose to get into a relationship. I guarantee you, you're not gonna regret it. Before I really get into anything too crazy, I wanna point out that I feel like this generation, right now, 2020, I feel like this generation is a little funny because I feel like it's all mixed emotions. Like, we got a lot of people who wanna be in a relationship, but at the same time, it feels like nobody wants to be in a relationship. Like, everybody wants one, but nobody really wants to deal with the stress of it all. Like, we want the commitment. We want somebody to commit to us. Like, we want commitment. But at the same time, we also want the freedom to just dip out, leave, just keep it moving the minute you feel like you're not really feeling this anymore. Like, this is not my flavor. Like, maybe I've grown, I'm matured, I want to move on from this. Like, we want the commitment, but at the same time, we want the freedom to just... And that brings me to my relationship advice that you need to hear. Point number 1. There are two I's in relationships. It's not just about you. Listen, for every I moment that you have in a relationship, for every moment where it's just about you, you're just focused on what you want, you're thinking that you're right, it's all just about you. It's an I moment. For every one I moment that you have about you, understand. Like, I want you to realize that there is another I in that relationship, literally in the word relationship, but in your relationship, there's another I, and that person is feeling like it's all about them too. Like, there are two I's in relationships, where every time that you think you're right, somebody else thinks that they're right. Like, it takes two. It takes two. You can't just make it all about you and then forget about what this person is feeling, thinking, and all that, because who's right? Who's right and who's wrong? For you to act like your I is more important is wrong, is unfair, is downright reckless. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not really relationship material. And yeah, I said it. Your hashtag not relationship material. That's a throwback terminology, but it is what it is. You're better off being single. But if you're gonna choose to be single, like, be a decent single human beings and don't go out there playing the married man game. Like, don't play the wife game while you're being single. Relationship advice that you need to hear. Point number 2, it is your job to care. Way too often I hear people saying, oh, I don't really gotta care, it's not my responsibility. But I wanna let you know, you chose to be in a relationship, it's your job to care, and it is your responsibility. I've done this way too many times, and I've had so many people just do this to me. You get into this relationship, and everything is fine, but then all of a sudden you hit a rough patch, and then all of a sudden you don't care anymore. Like, I don't care. I don't care what happens. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. First of all, you're lying. You do care. It just hurts less if you try not to care. If you're choosing to be with someone, you're choosing to be in a relationship, you're choosing to share life experiences with someone, it really is your job to care. You're asking someone to have your back. Like, it really, like, you gotta care. You gotta care not only when it's easy, but you gotta care all the time. You don't get to choose and pick when you're gonna care and when you're not gonna care. If things aren't going so well, you gotta be ready to choose to care. You gotta be ready to take the first step, be the bigger person, and do what you can do. Because you should be caring about the things that you care about. And you're probably feeling, and I'm gonna be honest, you're probably feeling like this because I felt like this before. What if I'm the only one who cares? What if you're the only one who cares? Well, if you're the only one who cares, then first of all, you should have thought twice about who you got with. It is what it is. You should have thought twice about that. Find someone who's gonna be willing to care about you consistently. It sounds like a duh kind of moment, but I want you to understand the fact that you yourself have chosen not to care because it's just easier not to care than to care. So recognize that somebody's probably looking at you like hashtag not relationship material. A lot of relationships have struggled in this area, including my own. And it's just really hard to care about someone when you begin to see them as an enemy when things get tough. Which brings me to my last point, which brings me to my last relationship advice that you need to hear. Point number 3. There is no N in me. As in, there is no enemy. Like enemy, get it? N in me. N as in negative in me. There is no enemy. There is no enemy. If you're in a relationship with someone, you want to get into a relationship with someone, just because things are getting rough does not mean that that person becomes your enemy. You guys are not supposed to be fighting a war against one another. And with that comes the fact that there is no winner and there is no loser. See, because if you're fighting to win, if you want to be right, if you're fighting to be right, you're fighting to win, that means that that other person is automatically the loser. And if one person is losing, then both of you guys are losing. You guys are not fighting a war against each other. There's no enemies. And I don't know about y'all, but I think those were 3 dope points that if you really want to get into a relationship, this is advice that you need to hear right now. Just put these things into practice, and I guarantee you that even if you haven't gotten into a relationship yet, you're just gonna walk into that relationship, you're gonna walk into that season just better off. And if you are in a relationship, then follow this advice. This is relationship advice that you need to hear, y'all. Peace.